Once again, we return for
It's a
yet
beautiful
another.
day.
Yeah, now it's your turn to sing. Welcome, everybody, to the Free Roam podcast. I'm Luke. This is...
Hello, I'm Jordan, Joe Raptor,
And,
yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be an interesting episode because it's gonna be the shortest one yet. I think I namely have a date after this, so I have to not be late.
Yeah, he's got to make a good first... Well, you probably know each other already. I don't know if it's a blind date.
No,
but
no,
a good
it's
impression.
first. It's first.
Oh,
impression.
a blind date?
Nah, I mean, we haven't met yet.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
kind of. Okay. Well, good luck with that. We'll get right
Not
into
get
it.
late, not get late or late. I mean,
Yeah, let's not jump to any conclusions, okay? Let's take it easy, everybody. Yeah, so a little rundown. We're going to go through these stories. We're going to try to clip along at a good pace for Mr. Joel Raptor. So we're going to just kind of jump right into it. Thank you to everybody listening live, watching live, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch. Appreciate all of you. We'll go through all of this with Joel Raptor, and then no doubt we'll still have some random things to talk about after, but we'll get to that when we come to that bridge. We will cross it. With that said, the biggest
okay,
news,
let's talk about Skull and Bones.
Skull
you
and
played
Bones.
it?
Yeah, the main topic everybody wants to hear about. Yeah, I played Skull and Bones' Endgame. It was far and away the best showing that game has had for me. Like it felt like an actual pirate game. It was still kind of boring at the end. Like they gave us basically 5 hours with the game, and we all were like, "Oh my god,
we've seen enough."
After like 3 hours, we're like, we have 2 more to do. Okay, so it got a little old, and there were some weird eccentricities with it here and there. Things like, oh, in order to defeat the end of season or the season boss, you have to have these items that you get through leveling up the battle pass, but you don't have to pay for it. But I'm guessing if you pay for the premium, you skip like 20 levels and you get XP boosts and stuff like most battle passes work. So I was like, it sounds like you're going to bypass a lot of grind by buying the battle pass, and it already felt really slow without that. So
oh my god,
I think some people are going to enjoy it. That's still my stance. I think if you're looking for another pirate game, you'll probably have fun with it. But I don't think it's going to... It's not so good that it's going to like... blow everybody's minds. People are going to be like, how did we think this was going to be bad? No, it's people are going to play it and be like, okay, yep.
yeah. And they did show the year 1 trailer. They are going to I mean, at least 1 year of content, which is quite a lot for a game like that. That will probably be chugging along, not sell well, but they might get the Game Pass deal later on or whatever to boost the numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were already talking about the Halloween event, as I saw on the roadmap.
Yep.
So, I mean, on the other hand, like, For Honor is still going. Remember For Honor, like 35 million people are, have now at least played it once, which is, quite significant. And they're doing like a year, I think 8 or 7 at this point. So yeah, that it does show, like, Ubisoft is always well known for even supporting games that did not really set the world on fire, so good on them. And seems like they might do that for Skull and Bones as well, although they probably have been working on this post-launch content for a really long time because of the delays, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So
they had a lot.
It's already done.
They have a lot. We'll see how it turns out. The one thing that I was struck by, because during the session we had like 5 hours with the game, so we got to sail around pretty much the entire map. And it was way smaller than I thought it was going to be. The previous times I've played it, it's like you're in this little area, so you never really get to peek out and see how vast it is. But it was way smaller than I thought it would be. It feels, at least, maybe it's just rose-tinted glasses, it feels like Black Flag was way bigger. Odyssey's definitely feels way, way bigger. Which is not the end of the world. Like, that's not necessarily all that the game's about, is just scope and scale. But I was surprised with it being a game almost entirely about sailing, that it felt like you could get pretty much anywhere within 90 seconds, 2 minutes of
Oh,
going
I mean,
there.
on one hand, that's nice for some of the missions, I would imagine. But on the other hand, if you have to play this for years or whatever, that's of course their ultimate goal.
Yeah,
Then it might get old fast.
you'll know
But
very
okay, enough about
quickly.
Skull and Bones. They have like a sea monster, and I've now seen it in every trailer. I'm like, there's only one sea monster. What's going on with
Yeah,
that?
and the rewards
But
for killing it suck. It's like you get some meat to cook into a steak that's a little better than cooking coconut husks. And I'm not even joking. Like it was, we spent 10
oh my
minutes fighting
god.
this monster, and then you get like some meat that's a little better than coconut. And so it was like, okay,
Oh
well.
my god.
Anyway, the big titular topic, which everybody has
Yeah.
been focused on. Why don't you give people the
Paul
quick breakdown?
Worlds. Well, Paul Worlds is a new game. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's sold like crazy. I see someone in the chat here as well, asking, "Have you tried Pokemon with guns?" I did, and it's surprisingly great. And yeah, that's kind of the good news this week. But the thing that Lucas was talking about here is the Microsoft layoffs. 1,900 people laid off. 8% of the Xbox gaming division got let go, and this, of course, yeah, or the sort of companies or studios that are mostly impacted are the ones from Activision Blizzard. So, I mean, on one hand, it's kind of how sad it all is. It on one hand makes sense when you kind of morph two companies together, like you don't need the same amount of marketing people, publishing, all that sort of stuff. It of course still sucks for the people that did lose their job, but also teams were impacted. A lot of developers at Treyarch, or not even not Treyarch, Sledgehammer. Of course, they have been doing a lot of Call of Duty games. I think 30% of the people there were let go. They are doing the Call of Duty in 2027, so that will still be a while. But yeah, they got let go. Toys for Bob, known for Skylanders, for example, 40% of their team got let go. So it's way more than just the the marketing departments that obviously will have some overlap right now. And the big news was actually that Blizzard, of course, when Overwatch was revealed, I think they always said the first new Blizzard IP in however long. And since then, we have not seen a new Blizzard IP. And the next one that was it was going to be a new survival game. That was going to be their next like big project. It has been in the works for over 6 years, but now it has been canceled. And actually, the Far Cry 5 director Dan Hay, who was later like boss of the whole Far Cry franchise, moved over to Blizzard to take over this survival project. But RIP, that project is gone after 6 years of work, and almost the full team that worked on that game has been let go. So they are also without a job. And Jason Schreier also talked about it a bit. He got some extra details. Of course, when you hear 6 years of development time, they must have been close to finishing it. We, of course, don't know all the behind-the-scenes stuff that is going on, but he kind of came forward on Bloomberg saying that so the Odyssey, that was like the code name, they were using a instead of Unreal, they were using a Synapse is I think the name of the engine they were using, because they wanted to try more things. In Unreal, they had some limitations in terms of the amount of people that they could have in a world. So similar to a Paul Worlds or other survival games, they wanted to have these huge servers with like hundreds of people, or I think hundreds, but like a lot of people running around at the same time. And they had some issues in Unreal, so they switched to this mobile games engine. Turned out that was a really bad idea because things went way slower. There were even developers working on Unreal Engine and not being able to like have their assets work on this new engine. So basically a lot of like challenges, a lot of things did not go well. They were people that were playing this new game. They liked it, the early version of it, but even after 6 years, 2026 would have been very ambitious for a release date. So probably Microsoft came in and was like, this is not worth it for us to invest more into it. And sucks that instead of like giving those people that worked on it different roles inside Blizzard, they were all let go. Also, the Overwatch 2 team, a lot of people were let go. It's kind of crazy actually how yeah, Microsoft was really looking probably like, okay, where can we cut? And yeah, way more developer, like way more teams for games that are seemingly doing fine. Yeah, were cut, sadly.
I mean, at the outset, let me just premise or like let's just get this out of the way up front. Layoffs are terrible. They put people
Yeah,
that did
100%.
nothing wrong other than being on the wrong team, basically. You know, they made the mistake of being hired for a job and assigned to a position that eventually was rendered obsolete to upper management. So this sucks. We wish those people the absolute best. Hopefully they got good severance packages. Hopefully they've been taken care of. As far as I know, none of the details of those separations have been leaked specific to this round of layoffs, maybe because it's not even known by the employees yet. We know like Riot Games provided a very generous compensation package for those leaving. So hopefully Microsoft follows suit in that.
Yeah.
But with that having been said, layoffs are always terrible. This is part of the remnants of debt being so cheap in COVID. A lot of teams expanded beyond their means. A lot of companies expanded teams beyond what was reasonable. And now, because managers were sloppy and just thought, whatever, like we'll overhire now while it's affordable, and then in a year or two we'll just fire everybody. For a manager that's thinking kind of amorally and sort of apathetically, that makes sense. But when you realize that these are actual human beings that like you hire with the intention of firing them or restructuring your company in a couple of years to make financial sense, like those are people that are moving, those people with families that you're putting out of work. Like it's horrible. It's horrible.
They had to return to office policy as well for the last few months. So people like bought houses close to the studio and now they're let go, which sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of companies and studios are trying to get back to working in the office. So it's not like those people that now live close to Blizzard or whoever. It's not like they can just go find any job and work remote. Like they probably are going to have to sell their houses and move again. Like it's just, it sucks across the board. That being said, I've been surprised by some of the reaction to some of the upper level departures, because one of the guys that has been ousted as part of this was the president of Blizzard, Mike Ibarra, and also the chief design officer, Alan Adam. And
he was actually a founder as well of Blizzard.
Yeah, Alan Adam is one of the co-founders of the original group that started everything. And what's really interesting about this is like everybody's like, oh, what? This is baffling. He said he didn't want to leave. Yeah, I'm sure he didn't want to leave. He's making tons of money. I wouldn't want to leave either. Like, but they're like, people are losing their minds over these two upper level people leaving too. And I'm like, you guys have been livid. Like the gaming community has been bashing on Blizzard for putting out garbage stuff and like cheap money grabs and destroying games with established IP and fan bases. And they've been doing this for years, you know, whether you look at Warcraft or Diablo, how they've kind of butchered the long-term support of Diablo 4. Like, we've been saying this for years and years, that these guys, these executives who have been in their positions for a very long time, that they're part of the problem. And now they're being ousted by Xbox because they're trying to restructure things and get it working better. And people are losing their minds over it. I don't really understand that. Like, if you don't like how Blizzard has been operating, Mike Ibarra and Alan Adam, even if they have been there for a long time, were likely part of the problem. You can't blame everything on Bobby Kotick. I know it's easy to do that, but they were in his structure for years and years and years, and at the very least didn't have a big enough problem with it to leave. They stuck it out and participated in this big issue. Let's just say that Bobby had established, whether it's over monetization or a toxic work culture, whatever you look at, they were still there and present for it. So Xbox coming in and restructuring and getting rid of some upper level managers, putting people in positions that they like and that they think will work better, seems reasonable to me. And like you mentioned at the outset, this is kind of the wave of impact from games like Redfall, where Xbox tried to just buy a studio and leave them be, don't touch it. And that didn't end up too good for them. So now they're taking a very active approach and they're stepping in, looking at projects and trying to evaluate what makes sense for the broader gaming community, what makes sense for Game Pass specifically, what has actual potential. And for games like Odyssey, I know people are losing their minds over that. It was in development for 6 years, in development hell. And even then, like, it's not clear if it would have released like this console generation, much less, within the next
Yeah, but
year
it's
or
more
two.
about the people than having to go away from Blizzard. Like these were probably very talented developers that would have been nice to work on new stuff. Like the thing for me is mostly that Blizzard right now is super boring. Like they just go back to their franchises, and it is not only for Blizzard. Like many big publishers are, yeah, going for the safe bets in the AAA space because these games are getting more and more expensive. But if you look at Blizzard's future, what is it? Diablo 3 Season 20, Overwatch 2 New Hero 36, and World of Warcraft gets a new expansion. Like that is the future of Blizzard. And I think having something new is exciting because we need that from these teams and from these people.
But the
And
thing
just
is,
going in, yeah.
well, I was just gonna say, like, I totally agree with you. Like, having new IP would be great, and I think we'd all like new IP from Blizzard. But it's a dangerous assumption to make, to think that Odyssey was going to be good if it ever actually saw the light of day. Whenever, it's one of my pet peeves, whenever like a game that was announced or rumored is canceled and walked away from, people are like, oh, it's the greedy people just canceling and screwing everybody over. It's like, it might have just been the case that it wasn't very good. Like there was the case of like Santa Monica Studio had a game canceled, or The Last of Us Online, where those games are canceled. And it could be that they would have been awesome. But it also could have been that they were canceled because they just weren't very good, and it just wasn't coming together.
Yeah, but I just wish that these developers would have given another shot under this new leadership, because it's probably not their fault that they had to switch to this mobile game engine and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of what bums me out. And maybe, yeah, there were other reasons. Maybe they are not gonna make a survival game, so they hired people that are experienced in that, and we're like, yeah, I'm not sure what we have for you. There are multiple ways to look at it. It is also interesting to note that Mike Ibarra was a president since February 2022, so not that long.
He had been
before
upper level management within Blizzard for a long time, though.
Yeah, he was, but like the big guy, like the guy really in charge, he was for not that long. And I would argue that, I mean, to be honest, like in the last 5 years, Blizzard has finally released new stuff. Like I think since Overwatch, they didn't do anything. So they did, and maybe that was also Bobby Kotick, because we know that he was really about let's annualize everything. Like that's of course the other side of it, and Blizzard is really like let's take our time, make sure everything is right. But that is probably why at that BlizzCon we got Overwatch 2, Diablo 3. That they're finally releasing new games. So I do think they've been better in the last couple of years, although it's still not what it obviously once was, but I don't think it will ever go back to that.
I mean, my thoughts on this is just, we've all been very frustrated with Blizzard's approach and the way Blizzard has done things for at least a decade. I mean, people have been bashing Blizzard for a long time, as they've kind of descended over the last however many years. And now there's massive restructuring. Managers and teams are being reworked. A lot of people are being let go. Other people are being moved to different positions, and they're restructuring, changing plans. I'm sure behind the scenes, if this is what's public, I'm sure behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff that's either being greenlit, moved, red lighted, shifted around. There's a lot happening. And so, at the very least, it's going to be a very different Blizzard than we've seen like 2-3 years ago. And for me, I understand there's the tragedy of the collateral damage that comes with restructurings. I mean, it's an unfortunate reality of running massive businesses. If you decide you want to change directions for your company, or a project isn't working, there's going to be a lot of human beings that are left without jobs and that suffer as a result of that. It just is how it works when you have thousands and thousands and thousands of employees and you're trying to figure out where to assign them and what to do. But if you're just looking at the company itself, I think this represents a big shift for Blizzard. And at the very least, I've not been thrilled with how Blizzard's been doing things for a decade. So if this means we're going to get a different Blizzard, I don't know how they could be worse. So hopefully they end up a little
but
better.
I'm also looking at Microsoft, and then you look at 343. Like Microsoft also has not a great track record of
Yeah, well, I
buying
think
new studios and doing well with them. Like,
yeah,
but yeah,
I
we will
think
see.
they've seemingly I forget where I read it. It might have been on X somewhere, but there was um a statement made by somebody within Microsoft. I think it was like a month or two ago, but they said that they were trying to learn from the mistakes of Redfall and Halo Infinite, and they didn't want to repeat those mistakes in the years to come with their new franchises, new IP, and new teams. And so this could very well represent an instance where instead of a game like Odyssey, if internally they were looking at it and they're like, it'll probably be ready in 2027, and then it might be successful. And they were just like, instead of dragging a half-dead horse across the finish line, let's put it out of its misery and try to win the next race, because this just isn't working. 6 years of time with thousands of developers, or hundreds of developers at the very least, is a very long time. And if they're having engine issues, if they're having technical issues, just trying to achieve the basic vision of the game, which is like 100 players in a server, that's probably not going to grow easier as time goes on. Like it's only going to get more complicated. So I think with all of it, it's extremely unfortunate, absolutely. And this is just another round of layoffs. And apparently there's rumblings that there's going to be a whole heck of a lot more in the coming months.
Yeah, sadly.
So it's,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
there's an
And-
opportunity,
and
though, for some other companies to come in and pick up a lot of the talented artists and stuff.
Yeah. I hope there is, but that's kind of the story we've been hearing, that there's a lot of like layoffs and but also on the other side like hiring freezes, and there's not a lot of jobs for everyone. But we will see. I mean, it just sucks that it was clearly going to be like a short window during COVID, that everything was going so well that they had like unrealistic expectations, and now we're seeing the downside of that. And also, I saw Jeff Grubb talk about this. For example, he was also like, okay, Xbox comes in, looks at Call of Duty, like they already have a mobile game, they already have Warzone, they already have a yearly $70 game. What can they do to expand that franchise? So maybe they're like, the only way to make more profit is with doing this with less people, and
Yep.
that's kind of also a sad reality. But
I mean, it's
yeah,
just frankly not. This is the thing every industry analyst, everybody on Wall Street has been saying. It is not sustainable to do $300 million games every 3 to 5 years with fingers crossed that it's successful and at the very least breaks even. They're like, that's not a way to run a profitable business. That's a way to barely survive. They have to find a way to get these things out either faster and more frequently, or at lower costs, or charging more to generate more revenue. Like you have to do one of those things. Otherwise, this doesn't work. The math doesn't work. And gamers have made it very clear they don't want to pay more than they already are. They're like $70 is the cap. And even then, a lot of games, they're not happy with that.
GTA, hold my beer.
Yeah, GTA, hold my beer. And so they're capped there. Microsoft has found some clever ways with, long-term sustained and consistent revenues through Game Pass, with the addition of early access charges of like $35 like they did with Starfield. That can be a really viable way of doing it. But that's like, again, 1 game a year, 2 games a year that generate that level of hype and interest. And then beyond that, like what else are you going to do? Players don't want to pay any more than that. So you either have to get them out faster, or you have to cut staffing and try to reduce costs. And it just seems like that's probably what's going to happen. And it's not just Xbox. It's going to be PlayStation. We've already seen it with Embracer Group and all of their stuff.
I mean, in the Insomniac leak, it was also like talked about how Insomniac had to cut like 35 jobs, and that one PlayStation studio would shut down in the coming months or so. So it will probably be a bloodbath for, sadly, a little while longer. There's some more interesting stuff to discuss. I want to thank Sean. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Yeah. Oh,
5
geez.
gifted memberships. Really, really cool.
Yes. Thank you, Sean, for 5 gifted. That's fantastic. Thank you, Sean. And welcome everybody who became a member from that. Awesome. And Dum Dum, thank you also for 5 months, re-upping your membership there. Hey guys, just checking in on the great stream. Thank you, my friend. What is the one thing that the other creator on this stream changed your view on a game or gaming opinion? I always appreciate that Joe Raptor is so like in tune with the rumblings of like especially Ubisoft, like rumors and news and different things. So I appreciate that, and I also really appreciate that Joe Raptor can often give me the perspective of the glass is half full, because sometimes I'm like, it's just a stupid glass and there's half of the volume filled with I don't care if it's half full or half empty, but he can come along and often give me a more positive outlook, which I appreciate as a cynical person.
Yeah, nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I like sometimes your marketing insights. I think the still the one where you said the tip of the tongue technique that still stuck with me. That was an interesting one. So yeah, it's a good thing we got going here.
Yeah, I like it. Real quick, Jor is the yin to Luke's yang. Exactly. With stop motion versus barely survive, Microsoft is valued at $3 trillion. So their market cap is $3 trillion. They're the most successful company in the world. That's absolutely true. But I think people misunderstand that, like, because they're at that level, they can therefore do whatever they want. Understand this. They are valued at $3 trillion because they run the business this way, because they cut what they deem as fat. Because if they think a project isn't working, they cut it and fire all the people working on it. This is why they're worth $3 trillion. They're not worth $3 trillion because they keep like hundreds of employees working on a project they think will fail. That's just not how it works. So if they did what you're asking them to do, or what we would in our heart song prefer them to do, which is just keep everybody employed and pay them all millions of dollars and everybody's happy and lives happily ever after. If they did that, they would not be worth $3 trillion. And that's just an important like chicken and the egg thing. People are like, they can do this because they're worth $3 trillion. They're worth $3 trillion because they don't do that. That's the important distinction to make.
Yeah, but there was also some people like it would be nice if the CEOs like took a pay cut or something to hopefully, yeah, because I mean it's hard, like especially if you're not like you don't know the going ons, but and part of it is also like taking over a huge company that does basically the same things as you. Then obviously some things will be redundant.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I always try to compare it to is like, if just imagine whoever you are out there, imagine that you run a company. Let's just say it's something really, really simple. Let's say you're a YouTuber as well, and you have editors that you've hired. Let's say you hire 3 editors and you have enough work to keep 2 of them busy. But you thought you were going to have all this work available and they could fill up the schedules for all 3 editors. But you realize 2 of them have full schedules. The other one has like basically nothing to do. So what are you to do? Either you just let that person go because you don't have enough stuff to keep them busy and it's just not profitable for you. It doesn't make sense to keep them employed. Or you can do what a lot of people are asking, and they're like, well, but you're making good money as the YouTuber. You should just keep paying them to do less work.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, no, it's still kind of the same, but on the other hand, it is like not as if Microsoft would, like they got a ton of cash, like they can easily withstand anything that would have cost these people, and like the fact that they want to be that $3 trillion company, that's maybe the problem. Like, what if they said we don't care about that? We want everyone. I don't know. I know it's not how capitalism works, but that could also be something they could have done. Or
well, there are certain structures, like there's B Corps in the US. I don't know if they're international, but there's B Corps where basically employees can own the corporation and then they share voting rights and everything. And in corporations, you know, employees can have stock options that have voting rights that they can redeem to get a say, but it's probably minimal compared to what like executives have. But at the end of the day, like within a corporation, the duty of the corporation is to serve the shareholders and look out for stakeholders as well. But the primary fiduciary duty is to the shareholders. And that means if there is somebody that is not contributing to the well-being of the other shareholders, if there's an employee or a team that's not doing it, you cut them loose, and that just is what it is. And I know people are like, well, but they could have given Odyssey more time and they could have kept working on it and employing it. If they looked at it and they thought it was going to lose money, I don't. It just doesn't make sense in my
Hey,
brain. The people are like, they should
but
keep them employed
but
indefinitely.
I'm happy that at least Redfall is getting a new update very soon. Like they are still working on that game. They really got their priorities straight.
I
No,
agree.
I'm kidding, but
All of the player can really enjoy that update.
yeah, well, I think they like dropped an update like this changes a lot, and then 6 people were checking it out, and
Dude,
those were probably
if
working
you
for a website or something.
if you ever
make an
want to just
article
feel
about
so
it.
sad, go to the subreddit. There's like 1 or 2 people that are like, "Is anyone here?" It takes
Hello?
5 days for somebody to reply. It's so
Okay,
sad.
but there's more interesting stuff we could go over. It seems that according to Jess Gordon from Windows Central, that they basically shut down departments dedicated to bringing games to physical retail. So we're still talking about Xbox here. Basically, like part of the layoffs were also the people in charge of like making physical Xbox games. Now they could still outsource it, but it is also kind of a sign for things to come. And it was also claimed that the AAA games have 80% digital share on Xbox. And I also have like more about the whole digital or the whole physical thing on Xbox. So, for example, in the US in 2023, 1/3 of all the top games, the top 10 games, were sold physically. So 33% of all the units sold for the top 3 games were physical. That kind of gives you an idea of how big digital has become, but also that physical is still a major part of the overall business. But on Xbox, it was less than 10%. So you're already seeing that on Xbox, people typically just immediately go to digital, apart from a few things. So yeah, that makes sense that they are slowly, moving away from that. Hellblade 2, of course, also digital only. So we, of course, had the rumors about a new Xbox Series X without a disc drive. It's still unsure if that will happen because it was, of course, leaked. Things might have changed.
Yeah.
But it seems that, inevitable, of course, but
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page with this. We're like, we all like physical media, but we also really like the convenience of digital stuff. And the vast majority of the gaming market, and increasingly so, is just deciding to go with digital over and over again. And with Game Pass especially, it just makes too much sense. Like Game Pass, it's not like those old school, you guys remember Netflix when you would actually order the like DVDs and they'd mail them to you? It's not like that with Game Pass. You just download it, and when you like don't renew your subscription, they just like invalidate the key, and all of a sudden you can't play the game anymore. But so it's like perfect for digital consoles, and then you get your whole customer base, everybody with an Xbox, they're acclimated to that system of just download and then delete it when you're done with it and download the next game. And so it's no surprise to me that Xbox specifically is kind of accelerating towards digital only. And it sucks for game preservation, and it's going to be really interesting to see how some of these groups that kind of lead the charge on digital preservation of games, how they handle this stuff in the coming years. I think there's a real chance that the next generation of consoles just completely forgoes physical media. There's an opportunity maybe for PlayStation to differentiate themselves and still offer it.
And Nintendo is still like 50-50 on physical mostly because of it's mostly parents as well buying their games.
But that's the question, is like, if Xbox, let's just say hypothetically for the next generation, Xbox does not have any physical drive. There's no like Blu-ray, there's no SD card, nothing. And then PlayStation does, for third-party developers, like say Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed, do they decide to just go digital only for it, or do they produce hardware just for the PlayStation?
I think PlayStation is big enough. To.
Yes, that's
to
a good
still
point.
Do it.
They do have a massive,
Yeah, but it depends on the game as well. Like I think Assassin's Creed is still that sort of the people that also go buy Call of Duty and NBA and all that sort of games. And for some reason they are still not really used to doing it in a digital store. That will of course over time change. But I think having Assassin's Creed also in a supermarket or anywhere else will benefit like those big franchises. I think Hogwarts Legacy is another game that probably sold pretty well physically, so I do think that will continue. But I think it will, for example, be interesting. What if, because the Xbox doesn't have a disk drive, their more powerful version is $100 less than PlayStation? That is of course like a big win for them, which
Yeah.
might be the case.
But things are shifting in the industry. I mean, we've all been bracing for it for a while, you know, the shift towards digital, the kind of redesigning of, I think, financial models to try and figure out how to make the industry truly profitable on a large scale. Because right now, a lot of the big guys are just kind of, they make money with 2 or 3 games and then everything else loses money, and they just can't really keep that up indefinitely.
And it's like really beneficial for these companies. Like you were talking about how these games are getting way more expensive, and how every company is kind of like figuring out how to move forward. And moving to a digital only format does work with that, especially if it's like a God of War. Sony gets 100% of every dollar that is spent on that game on the PlayStation Store, while they might make, for like God of War Ragnarok was $70, maybe 45 when you buy it physically. Like, that's a huge difference.
And then you got to factor in the potential for like secondhand sales where they don't make a single cent.
Yeah. So so it's like super beneficial. Like, they can sell like way less copies digitally for certain games and still be more profitable than bigger games that tend to sell well with physically. So it actually it's for everyone except for the GameStops. It's like a nice way forward, and for people that of course want their physical stuff. Although on the other hand, like, the physical games nowadays are just a disc with like an installer on it. So what do you really gain from that, right?
Yeah, for real. Like, just the cardboard disc with a code on it. You put in. Yeah, it's I think it's just, we're at a precipice of things about to change. Things are about to change a lot, and I think we all just need to be braced for it, because there's going to be a lot from everybody, and they're all going to kind of start doing it at the same time. Just like the $70 increase, once Take-Two did it, everybody jumped in and was like, yeah, we have to do that too to be profitable. Everybody's going to start doing this once one person or one company takes the leap. It's just going to be a flood of it, and so you won't even know who to be mad at.
I wanted to quickly touch on this as well. The new State of Play is probably coming.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
we had some rumors about this already. Of course, the developer direct was rumored before it happened as well. We of course got that last week. That's kind of like the whole Xbox thing. Always like super positive. Week after, oh my god, what the fuck? What is going on? But yeah, for PlayStation, they did last year like a February State of Play as well. And we now have some big rumors from the person that also always leaks the PlayStation Plus lineup, and they have like some other, they had some other leaks correct as well. So what they're now saying is Until Dawn is coming to PS5 and PC, and we actually learned last week that they're making a movie out of that, because of course Sony's looking at everything, and it's like, can we make a movie out of that? Oh, okay, let's do it. So so Until Dawn is gonna be one of them. I think that could actually work pretty well as a movie. Although it was already kind of a movie, so it's kind of like, what's the canon? And then that's going to be fascinating to see what the canon sort of playthrough of that is. But yeah, there were actually some rumblings today already that the PS4 version has been taken off the PlayStation Store. So there's something happening. And Death Stranding 2 might also be getting a title. It's going to be called Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, according to this leaker. They seem to be like data mining or having some access to, I mean, they know the PlayStation Plus like lineup a few hours every time before they get revealed. So maybe Sony adds it to something and they see it. I don't know. And it might also then probably reveal the release window for Death Stranding 2. I'm still holding my fingers crossed that it's this year, especially if they're gonna announce a date or like a title in the near future. And there's like a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth event going on. Actually the last few days. So press and creators got to play it, which also is usually moving to like another moment. So having that in the State of Play makes sense. Helldivers 2 is coming out. They got the PlayStation Plus with what's that game called again? The Splatoon Square Enix game. Foam Stars.
Foam Stars, yeah.
Yeah. So like they got many reasons to do a State of Play. So I really think that next week or the week after that, on Thursday, we will likely yeah, get a state of play.
Well, there you go. Yeah. The other thing that also just happened, somebody in chat told me to look it up, so I did pull it up.
Oh,
They posted it right at 10 a.m., so 50 minutes ago. On Hogwarts Legacy's Twitter page, they posted, as we near the 1-year anniversary of Hogwarts Legacy, we wanted to let our community know that the Hogwarts Legacy PlayStation exclusive content, so that super cool quest, will be available on other platforms later this summer. It's unfortunate it's taking that long.
summer.
Yeah.
Because it was gonna be February, I think.
I thought it was just a year, but apparently they're taking a little bit of extra time to port it.
Maybe because of the PS4 version that of course launched later. Maybe that's what it like pushed.
Yeah,
back.
maybe it was
That's good.
exclusive to that as well, and that's when the timer started. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it. And then they also say, along with additional updates and features for the game. Stay tuned in the coming months for more details on what's coming to Hogwarts Legacy this year. Mainly,
Yeah, buddy.
yeah, buddy. I would guess it's stuff like the ability to change the season independently once the story's complete. That was baffling that was not a thing previously in the game. So I think it's going to be little quality of life stuff like that. So if you want to do all the side content after you finish the story, but in winter time, you can just change it to that. Right now, I have to use a mod to do that. So I think little upgrades like that could be cool. Maybe some improved
Yeah,
gear
they will probably
systems.
use this as like another, hey, come back to Hogwarts Legacy and we have some quality of life stuff. It's like a better version. Maybe they will do like a Game of the Year edition or like a, I
Yeah.
don't know.
They could do like little bitty, I don't know, maybe they patch in like a new type of ogre type monster that you can
I
fight or
really,
something.
I doubt it. I do think they're already like moving on to what's next. I think that might actually be smarter for them, but
I agree. I would
mean,
prefer that. I'm just trying to think of what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
could define as features that
But
they
I think
add.
the season 1 makes sense. It's kind of like what Spider-Man also has, like the sort of time of day where every time inside a main, like depending on where you are in the main story, it's either dark or like daytime. And of course, in Hogwarts Legacy, yeah, you're always, if you're doing the end game, playing in the same season. So that would make sense, and probably not that much of a problem to
Yeah, it's
switch.
probably just like a really basic script that you just put
Yeah.
a toggle in the menu and then flip it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay. Yeah, I'm not expecting too much.
Yeah.
Updates and features. They're not saying content. Like
at the
and
very
then
least,
I don't think they would like drop this on a Friday freaking.
yeah, no,
today.
I at the very least, bringing that PlayStation Quest line to other
Oh my
platforms is
God.
awesome
It's the
because
best quest.
it is literally the best quest in the entire game. And if you didn't play on
Yeah.
PlayStation, you don't get to play it, which is so stupid. Because like my wife was playing the game at the same time I was playing on PC to capture like the best footage I could for the inevitable critique and reviews and stuff. And she just casually asked me, "Hey, did you do the quest line where like, you go to Hogsmeade, you get your own shop and it's kind of like a horror quest line?" I was like, "No, how did I miss that?" So I started like digging through it, trying to find it. And then I realized what had happened and that it was exclusive.
No, it was not clear at all. There was no icon, like a PlayStation icon next to it. It also shows up later on in the game, so you can easily miss it. And then, I mean, I knew it. Like I was already like really paying attention, but you were probably did you like know that when you started playing it that it was that quest?
I did. I knew that there was an exclusive quest. I just assumed it was going to be like the Ubisoft ones with like, you remember the one for Assassin's Creed Origins where it was like 7 minutes long and you just like walk in here, grab a thing and you're done.
It's like an hour with like a plot twist and like boss fights and like an
so
amazing sort of dungeon, and it's like horror themed, like you said. Like it's wow. The other side missions are nothing, and even it would be like a top tier main quest easily as well.
Yeah,
it's really insane.
Yeah, it's a shame not many people have, or not more people got to try it. But if you've not played that mission yet, I highly recommend that you
hire someone
to play it for you.
So you can.
Oh
so
man,
you still can experience it for the first time.
Oh, Arno has a good point.
In that case, on PC, Xbox, you have DLC to look forward to because it felt like a DLC to me.
It's basically
really
like an hour
like
of free content. Yeah.
Yeah,
really
it
good
felt like
content.
something they made late into the development cycle when they were already kind of like very capable of making this game.
They had hit their stride. They're feeling good. Yeah. Arno said, "I'm a simple man. I just wanted them to give us the ability to sit on the hundreds of benches in the game and take in the environment. Maybe that's one of the features. They just give you the ability to sit on stuff." It's like the big
Sit on the
update.
bench while wait for the real next game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, this is the sitting patch. It's a big update.
Okay, but it's fun that they're doing it. It makes sense, especially again for Xbox and PC. Then it will feel like an actual big update if
Yeah.
you are not spoiled by that quest or whatever. I have
Dude,
not seen it.
I am very intrigued. I'm partially terrified and also very excited at the prospect of what the future holds for the Hogwarts Legacy franchise, because either they're going to continue to let them do what they want to do in a sort of pro-consumer, here's the game, it's a complete package, there you go, except for PlayStation players who get a piece cut out. But like, it's just a solid, fairly priced game that's fun. I'm worried that they're going to come along with the sequel and it's going to be just your standard Warner Brothers affair.
Yeah.
But time will tell. You know, either they're just saying that stuff to keep investors happy, and then privately they're like, no, you guys can just do what you want to do. You're doing great. Or they're going to like ham.
No, I don't think they're gonna I don't think he goes out of his way to say we want to make turn every big franchise into a service game and then not do it for your biggest franchise.
Yeah.
Even though maybe if Suicide Squad backfires, maybe that might be the moment for them.
Yeah, is
next
it
week
early
we'll have
access
played
for
it.
that? Yeah, early access is in like 3 days.
There is no early access.
Or whenever we can play
at the
it.
same time.
Is it the second?
Yeah, it's the second, but if you on Xbox use the New Zealand trick, then you can play it earlier than that.
Well, you sly dog.
I know what I will be doing. Monday, 1 p.m. I'll be ready.
Baller.
I'll be living in New Zealand for the day.
Yeah. Just tell them if
Shooting
they ask.
some
No, I flew.
purple goo and
It would probably be a business write-off if you physically flew to New Zealand to play the day early. For you, that would be one hell of a flight, though.
yeah.
Also, Zoob Mayor, thank you for the 2.
Yeah, I have to leave now, but it
Yes.
was really short but sweet. Next week we will probably have more time. So
Yes.
Let's do that then.
Good luck on
Have
your
a great
date.
Yes.
Tell her
thanks.
Luke says
And,
hi. It won't be weird.
Okay.
It's fine. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, my friend.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Good luck with more shows today, I would imagine.
Yes.
Thanks,
We'll rock and
everyone, for
roll.
watching. See you later.
Okay, everybody. It's just us now. I want to say thank you to this Ubisoft Plus included with PS Plus Extra. If they can manage that, I think that just makes sense. I absolutely agree. Fridays with Luke, you're damn right. So here's the deal. We kind of ran through everything that we had lined up for the core show, talking about the Microsoft stuff. What I'm going to do is we're going to take a very brief pause. I'll be back on stream here in just about 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll continue with our regular stream. And we're actually going to go for a while today, including some gameplay and then unboxing, and it's going to be a good time. So we're going to do that, but we're just going to take a short break while I reset the stream to a new event. So just go to Luke Stevens Live. You'll see a new live stream event pop up, and you can join us over there, and it'll be a kind of standalone thing, and we'll rock and roll. Okay, everybody? Sound good? Sound good. I'll see you in just a few minutes. Much love. And yeah, I'm excited. Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes. Bye-bye.